Welcome to the after show for episode, what is it, like 30 of Sounds of Silence?
Episode 30.
Episode 30.
The final after show for season 1 because it's over. Season 1 ended.
Season 1.
Also, this after show is available to everyone. This is normally on Patreon, but because it's the last of the season, we like to do a season recap thing. So it's just everyone can see this on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. These are after shows. They're a thing. Anyway, hi. Anyway, we're doing this one live as well, so we've got chat in the corner.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's really weird for it to be over.
Yeah.
I think I'm only going to realize it in like 2 weeks' time. I'll sit down and be like, wait, I'm GMing. Wait, what?
How's everybody? All right. How's everybody? So I guess we should just talk about the show as a whole then, right? So
Yes.
We'll talk about the last episode a little bit. My biggest question mark in going into this was, what were they going to do with Max? Were they actually going to kill him? Were they going to diablerize him secretly? Were they going to take him away, blow up the building, and say he got killed because that could be an older venture in their pocket? Or were they just going to follow the rules and do what they were supposed to do all the way through? In my mind, it was either I thought you were going to kill outright or kidnap. Diablerie was in the air if Zach was there, I think. But since Zach wasn't there...
I debated it. I debated inserting myself on the team for that purpose. I was like, actually, I don't want to risk it because the second position could have been tampering with him.
Mm-hmm. As far as the ghoul, I figured you were going to kill just because he was the first face of this world you ever really saw. It's fitting that the last face he sees is yours. But but Max, I was very interested to see what you did.
I was going to get myself to kind of put the idea in either Ollie or Dakota's head. Just like, maybe Diablerie.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's the thing. You guys made the mistake of sending Dakota to go talk to the prince. Had you not done that, she would have been way more down. But the prince said, kill Max, not diablerize him.
Yeah, she very specifically did that, didn't she? Because she was like, do whatever you wish. Wait, no.
No.
Don't diablerize him.
She wouldn't want
Kill
you to
him.
diablerize him.
No.
That runs the risk of, in her mind, at least what the prince is thinking, that runs the risk of him surviving and taking over the body of the one who tried to diablerize her. She doesn't want to deal with a fucking Prince Maxwell running around in a Dakota body. That's not what she wants to do.
That would be risky. That would be weird.
Yes.
Exactly. And that would be a whole new character I'd have to run Dot through and be like, all right, here's a
So
sister.
instead of sexy Noah,
here's all the
sexy
things,
Maxwell. Scary Maxwell.
So yeah, I think that's really the thing is like, actually Diablerie was on. I mean, Dakota's been thinking about that since we left Madison.
Mm-hmm.
There have been multiple opportunities.
The other question I had was, what were you going to do with the children? I didn't know what the plan was because you gotten to the point in the plan where we can save the children, we can get them out. Then the question was, now what? And there was never a further pushing of that, and I'm not going to be the one to force it. So then we came up to this crossroads of like, you could basically let the kids just fucking run and like fill the city, or Ava had the opportunity to bring them anywhere she wanted to, whether it be to the sewers or back in the building. I had a feeling one of Ava's top choices were nuke them. Like, let's get rid of them. To hear that they were child-sized torture devices was enough for Ava to be like, not worth the risk. Kill.
No.
Yeah.
It's a tough call. That's again why World of Darkness is my favorite world in the world. There is no right choice. Never is there a right choice.
No, there's always a consequence.
Comes with a consequence.
Yep. And this time it's, Ollie hating me, essentially. A severed relationship, potentially.
Yeah, it comes at the cost of a relationship with your coterie, but you can worry about that another time.
I thought about it for a second, and I had a moment of panic, and I was like, oh, what do I do? But I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's nuke the whole place with the children.
I like the fact the plan went almost perfectly right up until that point. And then when the question came over and you asked Zach was like, hey, I said that I would defer to the people on the ground when this came down, so feel free to ask the people in the basement. Zach was good.
It's one of the reasons early on I suggested Ollie be the one to pull the fire alarm and get the kids out, because I knew that Ollie would let nothing happen to the kids. But the team was like, no, send Ollie and Dakota down. I was like, okay.
That's why I was like not totally against that plan for that reason, but at the same time, we needed like Ollie in the basement. Dakota, you would have just got.
And honestly, I don't know what that meant, having the torture devices for children. Maybe they were just poor innocent children being tortured and nothing was happening to them. They weren't being brainwashed. I have no idea. That was just kind of a guess, an assumption.
torture, I mean, this is something that's pretty common knowledge. Torture among the Second Inquisition for converting of minds is not exactly rare.
Okay.
They are not. Again, the Second Inquisition is the safety of the many over the safety of the few. So in their minds, if it's worth killing 1,000 kids to save 3 million kids, they'll do it. They don't care.
They were programming those kids in the most horrific way. And I think
there's no such thing as like a good organization in World of Darkness. It's just not.
Yeah.
Maybe changelings are the closest you can get to something good. Depending. Changelings, not Fae. Not Fae. Fae are too alien. Mage, pretty close. Werewolf's actually probably the closest, actually.
Really?
Well, with what they're trying to do and their guarding of the spirit realm between the mortal realm, they kind of act as guardians. So they're again all gray, of course. It's just varying shades. Everybody can be good, of course. Shit, man. All right, there's so much to talk about, and I know we don't want to go too far.
Okay,
and I
what
hope you don't mind.
we've done in the final episode, because like we couldn't have stopped the Sybil takeover because by that point it's too far along, right?
The Sybil takeover, you signed your warrant on to the degree that you did a couple episodes ago, but mostly sealed the deal when you delivered the box. With the box being handed over, and it opening and being allowed, and then listening to her and killing him, like that was kind of the last page of that particular chapter when it came to the Methuselah. Getting to her after handing over her shadow to Bella was going to be a hard thing to do. Granted, you didn't know that was in there, but we just placed the box in Dakota's hands and said, "Have fun and see what it was."
Good thing I'm not a cat. Yes. I mean, I tried, but
you did try. You just didn't roll very high, at all. As far as this episode was more about what you were going to walk away with, not necessarily how you were going to affect the Methuselah, but what leverage or what non-leverage you were going to walk away with from the orphanage. Do you kidnap people? Do you take information? Do you just kill them? Who are you laying your cards with? Who are you putting your chips in with? It was just more of a how in with the Camarilla have the four of you decided to go? And it seems the answer is all in, which is not a bad thing. There's no wrong choice.
Well, at this point, like we've been hedging until right now, right? Every decision we made has always been a hedge.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is the first time we've gone kind of all in.
Yeah, this was the most combat-oriented episode we've ever done.
Oh, yeah.
It was really fun to watch Ollie and Dakota just work. Yeah. It's just how fast you guys can tear through people is insane.
Yeah. Honestly, if I had chat was talking about it, it was just all happening in the moment. Defy Bane, the actual aggravated damage that I took, the 5 would have been reduced.
It would have been
superficial,
2 and 3 would have been superficial or something?
No, I would have taken 4 aggravated turned to superficial. So I would have had
it's equal to
6 superficial, 1 aggravated would have been what the total was.
And then 3 breath checks and you heal that, right? Because you healed double.
Correct. Yep. After I'm at it, yeah.
Did somebody ask if Bella was already a servant of Sybil before getting the shadow? Without getting too spoilery, the answer is technically no.
I'm going to put down that she was a pawn being positioned and she was into it for her own power. And then she was like, hey, free power from the shadow. And then Nom connection.
Yep, pretty much that. Yeah, she was being manipulated on her own.
So does that keep Dakota bonded to Bella?
Yes.
Where's the bond?
You're bonded to Bella.
And Bella's bonded to Sybil in a kind of telepathic way.
Yeah, different kind of...
Not a blood bond, more of like a mind bond or a soul bond.
Right. Correct.
So all the people in that room were connected to Sybil in some way, essentially.
You believe so. The only one you don't have evidence of that being true with is Snitch. You don't know if Snitch could be there because he knows the way the winds are blowing. And he's a Nosferatu, and the only thing Snitch cares about, as he's made clear to Ollie many times, is the survival of his clan. And if he believes that this is the best chance he has at keeping the Nosferatu around, he doesn't need to be part of Sybil to play along with.
That's who Saito told the Anarchs, right?
He said Flick. Flick.
Okay.
So it's tough to know. As far as the others, though, Bella,
Vanessa.
Rudy, and Vanessa, I mean, yeah, you can assume.
Yeah.
At the very least.
That's the third way that you offered there.
Huh?
Saito offered earlier in the episode a third way to Zack, because Zack was like, you're playing an angle here.
Oh, yeah. Saito so desperately wants to, just have friends.
Oh.
But it's not to be.
But your only friend is a ghost.
Yeah, not even sure if the ghost is
She has
particularly.
not seen her since you
Friendly.
freed her.
Mm,
Yeah, she has not made herself known since you basically have freed her.
Interesting. Okay.
So my question, I guess, for all of you players is, when you started this game, where did you think your characters were going to end up?
No,
And how happy or miserable are you with where your characters?
Just
We'll
no.
start. We'll start with Zach.
My answer to all of
When
that
we
is no.
opened-
I
when we
didn't
opened-
think. That was
You
my
didn't have
big
any-
mistake.
You didn't think. Lessons are learned.
My big regret is I keep working out all the conspiracies about an episode before they happen, so I never have any time to get ahead of them. Every time.
You just dream of them and think of them constantly.
Yeah, every time it's about an episode. Sometimes 4, but not enough to really enact a plan.
Ava, I will say for my personal opinion, I should probably also give. Zach's character started off pretending he was a smartass and ended up actually being a smartass. Like in the way that he, not smartass in the negative connotation, but more like he thought so much more of himself in the beginning. And while that was kind of stripped away from him, all this confidence was stripped away, it was being replaced with actual accomplishments. So like we kind of saw what Zach wanted to be and how he kind of became that, and in his own twisted way.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really fun to watch.
I deliberately wanted that as part of the Malkavian because people would overlook it because, Malkavian. So he could be a smartass, but when he was actually being smart, it would just be lumped in with smartass. And then as soon as that got taken away, I was like, oh, I have to play this completely differently going forwards.
Yeah, you can't really pretend to be Malkavian in front of Malkavians most of the time.
No.
Yeah.
As far as Ava's character, what an interesting, because when we first met Ava, I was like, this is going to be the one that clings to her humanity the most. She's going to stay the most human. She's going to try and stay, attached. And what we saw with Ava is like kind of your, not cliche, but what most would expect of a successful Toreador, of someone who starts there, but that just fucking picks up on the game and plays it. And she just plays it. Now, she fucked up a bunch and caused some problems, a bunch, learning process, but she survived them because of good deals made and a little help from her coterie. What about you, though? Where did you see Ava going? Was that your plan from the beginning?
No, actually, it wasn't. I in a way thought that Zach and I were gonna be a duo, like a really work together, conniving duo, and it did not end up that way at all. We had different motives, different motivations, and we really grew apart as brother and sister. And that's probably the most surprising thing for me.
You know what's interesting about that is that early on you were the one going, we don't have to kill people. And now you're just like, kill the orphanage, it's fine.
You
remember
a
the
pack of 15 kids into an exploding building.
Honestly, yes, and I did not expect. So ironic. The very first mission I got from the Anarchs was to kill somebody, and I refused because I was like, I'm not killing.
And that was a massive turning point for our country because we were going in with the Anarchs at the time, and when you turned that down, completely changed everything.
Honestly, I think the moment where you seduced, the governor or the mayor, and had that whole plot, that was the tipping point for Ava.
That was the tipping point for Ava, and it was a big change for the entire show in a way. So it was big, and that's where I knew that this is where that's when I finally accepted where my character was going, and I was okay with it. And I was like, all right, this is the direction we're going to take Ava, and let's go. So I was very happy with it. I started out kind of being more on the good side and I'm not going to kill. But in a way, refusing the Anarchs was, I think, a really good decision. And I'm really happy that I ended up going in with the Camarilla. So I'm very happy with it.
I've really enjoyed watching your character really take to the Camarilla lifestyle very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Then we have the last two of the core cast. We'll start with Dakota. Dakota's start and finish are wildly not what I was expecting. But
I don't think anybody. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, the bond itself had forced me as a player,
of course,
to have to just be different.
It was your mistakes that led up to that bond that really changed that.
Yeah, and
are you happy with where your character ended? Temporarily, where we.
I mean, I don't have any issues with where Dakota landed. I think Dakota has more purpose now than she did when she started. significantly more purpose. I started this looking at Dakota probably going Anarch. There was even a period of time before the year span that we skipped where I was plotting with Josh and was feeding information to the Anarchs, which nobody knew, and it still never came out. Maybe to you, EE, because Zach connives with every fucking body.
Yeah. Zach was like, she's probably talking to him way too much because of being buddy, but I don't care right now.
So, but it was actually Clyde. We had not had to deal with any of Dakota's past. And I was like, oh, Matthew is gonna give me the chance to go home and kill my stepdad, which is boring. And Matthew was like, no, instead I think I'm gonna take this one. Let's prod that a little bit. And then when Clyde showed up, it was this just rage, because Clyde is inevitably what pushed Dakota over the edge and said yes to turning kindred. And so she had not seen him since she had turned kindred, and the big mistake of going to the club, which wasn't supposed to be a mistake, it was just supposed to be talking, and then things happened.
I predicted that as well. Just gonna point it out there.
Was this huge tipping point, and it and so obviously the consequences were huge. But I think
great episode.
Oh god. But I think it did two things. It made Dakota realize that she put her coterie in a really bad position, which means she felt guilty for forcing their lives down a different road. And so she wanted and had to make up for that. And she knew that this mission was going to be how she helped the whole coterie, not just Dakota, the whole coterie come back.
Cleanest mission you've ever had.
From the mistake that she made. And it's why the whole time Dakota was like, don't you fucking mess this up. Just stick to the plan. But it also... it forced Dakota to have to just play the game, which she was trying so difficult not to. But, there were tons of things like meeting the gangrel that were part of the Camarilla really changed her perspective. And then finding some kind of level of respect from Bella also changed that, which I didn't expect when the bond started. And then the relationship between Bella and Dakota it
was great.
It shaped her. She's never had an influential female in her life ever.
Yeah, once you kind of made that clear to Bella just fucking leapt on that. That was her opening. When you immediately were so amiable to listening and letting her guide you to certain thought processes, that was she was like, oh, okay, I get it.
She needs a mentor. Dakota always needed a good mentor, and everyone she's ever come across are the people that have helped, like Clyde. Were horrible people. Just because he helped protect her for a period of time did not make Clyde a good person.
Exactly.
So Bella, not that Bella was a good person either, but she gave her purpose, and she helped Dakota ask questions and find a place in kindred society that had basically forgotten about her and turned her away, which is what the Camarilla had showed her over and over. And for the prince to be the one that says, no, let me give you a chance, Dakota said, okay.
Yeah, I go ahead.
It was interesting. I was thinking about it earlier. Instead of doing the carrot and the stick, when she was punishing you with the blood bond, she used the stick to make you eat the carrot?
Yeah. There was no dangling. I was just like, okay. I mean, obviously part of that's the bond, but there were times, I remember chatting.
I mean, you were having conversations with her prior to level 3. There was a lead up to the level 3.
Yeah, and there was part of the audience that's always fight the bond. And I was like, at some point, Dakota doesn't want to fight the bond anymore. She likes having this power. She likes having purpose, and she likes feeling important, because everything leading up to her kindred life, she was stepped on and abused and forgotten. And so there needed to be something for her, and Bella really gave that to her. So be damned if there's a fucking sandwich sleeping under Chicago. Be damned all of this. Her allegiance lies really to two people, and those are the two people that made the most impact on her, which was Ollie and Bella.
So speaking of seeing Dakota take such a big change, Ollie being the most resistant, which has been one of your biggest defining characteristics with that character, and I fucking loved every second of it. To be able to test the limits of how far Oliver is willing to go to get a job done, but still cling to what he believes to be his moral center, being his humanity. And I know you and I have had many conversations over the course of this campaign with difficulty about where you see Ollie going and how things have gone. I'm curious, what are your thoughts now that 30 episodes are done and Ollie is still alive, which was seriously up in the air between the two of us for a little while.
Yeah.
And not only that, but potentially having done well for the Camarilla, even though it cost something that Ollie would have fought everything to not have been the price to be paid. Where it's hard to just where is yours, Bub, your thoughts on as far as Ollie's transformation and where we find ourselves?
Well, I'm kind of torn, actually. As a player and as a storyteller, I love the story. I thought it was incredible, pretty much all the way through. I was able to experience a world that I've never quite experienced before from a very different kind of standing, which is so much more politically influenced, and that's not something I'm used to seeing. So I had to come at this a little differently. More often than not, I find that players don't want things like that because it's too convoluted. You have to make decisions that are difficult, and sometimes it's just easier to murder hobo through things. Yeah. And this was very different for a lot of reasons. Ollie is near and dear to my heart. I've played the character as true as I possibly could all the way through. And it would have been easy to embrace the humanity loss and try to just kind of sidle in with the kindred. But then I would just be like every other Nosferatu. If I just embraced that part of me, then I would just be like every other character. And I feel like that's not who Ollie is. At his core, he is a very different kind of person. He's a person. He's not just a kindred. So he clings to his humanity. Am I happy with the story as a storyteller? Yes. But for Ollie definitely he's the most conflicted character so far now, especially with this reveal, because I think
that's been true probably for the past 5 to 10 episodes. Ollie being a conflicted character.
It's even more so now. I'm sitting here thinking wow, Ollie was just a tool. That's all he kind of was. It's let's give him a little bit of a sun, and then we will continue to manipulate him from X advantage each time, especially considering the point that Rudy, Snitch, Bella, and Vanessa was in the room, and knowing that Rudy came to me and said, just blow up the building. It doesn't matter. They're veal. What does it really mean? Because him saying that just means that's how Sybil feels. So now he feels like he is a tool to someone that thinks that all mortals are just that, that they're just veal. And what does she really care, right? At that point, I'm more along the lines of just a tool for her. And there are some people on the chopping block for Ollie, if given the opportunity. As it stands,
Rudy's dead. If you ever get the chance,
Rudy's gone. Yeah, he's gonzo's.
I already know that's fine. Snitch is probably debatably dead.
Snitch is doing what Snitch does best, and that's surviving.
Who else?
Ava, hard.
I
cannot she's always just kind of teetered in a neutral party for me, but I cannot believe Ollie's just completely flabbergasted. How could you do that? How could you that was the whole plan? And she was like, fuck them. Doesn't matter. There's little meat bags. It's all good. And I think, man, I really it's always teetering with Suichi. But now at this point, Suichi's just as much as a tool as Ollie is. And he'll probably see it that way when he really considers it. So it sucks for Ollie, but it made for insanely awesome drama. It was good all the way through. I just wish that I had been smarter about some of my plays.
That's the learning process, though. I mean, that's what we went into this campaign knowing full well you were going to be walking in as people who, were new vampires who didn't understand the political system anyway, and that mistakes were to be expected. That's how the kindred learn. They don't die from their mistakes. If they don't die, they get a chance to try again another time and do a better job. And that kind of culminated in the final episode with a job finally executed as well as you possibly could think of with the situation that you were given. And I think that's kind of a nice bow on how the 4 of you, at the very least, have grown to work together with one another. Overall,
question about that job then. Did Tori get the last nun?
You don't know. There are also kids there are also a handful of kids that scattered to the streets. A few kids lived.
They weren't on the mission agenda, but the nuns were.
True.
I've got to admit, though, if we end up if it decides, it comes down to it, and that there isn't a season 2, I'm not so sure Ollie will come back for it.
So you should know one of the things that I had planned for today, which I was like, if it happens, I'm going to pitch this. Dakota will say this, which was when they decided to let Dakota and Ollie go down into the basement by themselves, he was going to fake their deaths and ask Ollie to leave with her. Everybody else would never have known, cut the mic, let them think they had died, and ask Ollie to piece the fuck out. Leave all of this behind.
With this, you saying your character would still do this?
No. I mean, it was one of those things where
it crossed your mind.
It not only crossed my mind, like if they had not come back down to exit through the basement.
How would that work with the blood bond, though?
I would have had to have fought the blood bond. Yeah, obviously.
Correct. She would have made a roll. If she succeeded the scene, she would have been free of it.
I would have been free long enough to ask Ollie if he wanted to leave.
Then it would come back occasionally. You'd have to hope that Ollie would pin you down. And never
correct. And for the next 2 months until it was completely gone. But to be able to let all the kindred think that we had died would have freed us of the thing that really Ollie, I think, and Dakota shared in common.
So then the question to Ollie would be, if you decided not to come back, you'd leave your son in the hands of people who would just kill him if you're not around. What point do they have? Is that something that Ollie would bother worrying about because he knows the truth behind it all?
If Ollie has to consider that situation for what it's worth, knowing full well, like what good is he really? Like, how safe is Rowan actually? How safe is Rowan knowing that obviously, like, the 4 strongest people in Chicago at this point are being controlled and dominated by the actual strongest? And
that's the belief anyway. Yes.
Yeah. Which for Ollie, it is that, unless somehow they pre-wrote that document of the sound of silence, like that was just too on the note.
I guess the thing is, if she's been influencing this entire time,
I want to know how long. How long was it when I was a child?
Oh,
Did she
for
have grips
Rudy?
on Rudy that long?
That's a good question. I mean, there's no way for me to give you that answer right now. But if you're worried about your son, I guess the only thing I can say now is, what point would they have in killing him if you're sticking around? Why would they?
Honestly, I don't know if, like, I don't really know what they're, because if he was legitimately adopted or if he was just.
As far as you've been able to tell, and far as people have done research, the paperwork is all government official. Like, he is officially by law been adopted.
They have nothing to gain from killing Rowan other than trying to get at me, and I know the truth.
Correct. So I'm curious how much of that truth would bother Ollie, because again, it's still part of him. It's still part of his soul.
It is a part of it, but I know at this point, like, while I think that's something that a lot of people have been hung up on. It's like, oh, Bub's really kind of running with this lie, but I think it should be well known that Ollie does believe to some extent that this is his real son because it has a part of his soul, and as long as he continues the charade, he gets to watch his son legitimately grow up, and it's not like they're going to look different. They're going to, it's a mirror. It's just, in this situation, I know that the real Rowan is out there. I think it would bother him a little bit, but knowing that his son is safe and out there elsewhere, probably not as bad as a lot of people would think.
Well, before we wrap up, if we ever see a season 2, there will be a new haven gifted to the 4 of you.
Will it have a new library?
That haven will be where the orphanage once stood, and it will be a bar.
We call it Mark's Bar.
Like what Ollie wanted?
Correct.
Well, shit.
That is just something to keep in mind. That'll be given to you via that conversation in the suite, like a reward for a job well done. They're going to tear down with the rubble. They're going to rebuild, and they're going to take it out of the twins' domain and gift it to you as your new domain.
Wow.
You may get to cook some food after all, Ollie.
We'll see.
But we'll see.
I also want to toss in the reason Dakota made the choice to kill Camille's ghoul was simply because Camille played the shit out of us episodes back. She has had a grudge against Camille, and she swore that she would get back what Camille did.
And that is a good way to get back. Yeah.
She took something that belonged to us and killed it. I took something that belonged to her.
Honestly,
that is very fair.
Even if we hadn't made that decision, when he walked outside and it was in the open, it was like, there's no way to really get him, so...
There's no way to,
Yeah.
He was dead, and also I gave Tori express orders to make sure...
No, it was straight up the order. If you see him, shoot him. I was like, all right.
I was wondering what Tori... I was like, you're giving Tori a gun and telling Tori to be careful and saying things should be done. I was like...
Yep.
Yeah.
That was definitely... At the moment, Bella was like, your choice. It's like, okay.
As far as the two guest characters, obviously we don't have one of them here, so I will just say, watching Camille manipulate and maneuver to take a seat on the Primogen Council, which was not originally planned. I never expected Camille to sit on the Primogen Council, was excellent. And to see the mirror effect happen in a more diabolical black magic sort of way with Saito, I did not expect Saito to agree to the deal that was offered to him in the depths of the abyss. I did not expect him to be like, fuck it, I'm in. Like, all right, let's go. Let's have some fun.
Up to 11.
Yeah.
From the beginning, Saito was a character of contradictions and risks.
I
thought it would get him killed way before
Oh, speaking of which, Bob, do we want to talk about how close we came to killing Saito?
It was literally like a nod away.
Really?
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In today's game?
Yeah.
Oh my.
No, Saito.
That's right. So you remember when we had that talk with Bella and she said, the four of you know that I'm secretly a Maserati sandwich possessed person. If a message leaks, all of you die. So
right.
That I have...
yeah.
And then she said to you, the five of you know it was Max. So if it leaks, and then when you relayed that information back, I was like, I don't want to kill Saito, but he's going to leak this. But I don't want to kill Saito, and said it to Bub, and Bub was like,
hey, I told the prince that both the Anarchs and him were aware. So I made it clear to her. She can choose what she wants to do with that. But that would have been really interesting to kill Saito.
I think if Saito had died, Saito has spent so much time trying to get the Anarchs up and running to fight the Camarilla, you probably would have martyred him. Like that might have been the galvanizing thing. I think that's really the
downside. We'd have kicked off maybe not a full-on war, but the beginning stages of
one.
Absolutely.
Well,
Saito was relatively militant.
Dakota's considered killing Saito multiple times, and honestly, if you hadn't wiped her mind, if you had not successfully managed to wipe the situation in Madison from her mind, she would have killed both you and Saito. She would have made it an absolute mission. So good news.
Saito got lucky so many times.
Saito did get lucky.
Always.
So many times. But
pretty much every session.
Yeah, every time Saito came in my mind, there was always the back thought of like, this could be Saito's last session. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I felt like there was a point where that just got worse and worse. Like every time he showed up, I was like, this is it today.
Yep.
Saito dies today.
I know we've got stuff to take care of, so I know we want to wrap things up. I just want to say, obviously, thank you to everybody who's watched all 30 weeks. It's been a wild, wild ride. I know almost everybody who was playing was brand new to this rule system, brand new to this world. I know a lot of viewers are, so I hope I did the world's justice and you guys enjoyed, whether you enjoyed the story or the characters or what have you. As long as you enjoyed the show, thank you. And thank you to all the cast, guest characters, main cast included, for really bringing the story to life. Because I can lay out as intricate and complicated a story as I want. The players aren't taking the bait and wanting to know what happens. It's nothing. And without good actors as well embodying those characters are just end up being meat husks that are turned into murder hobos. So it's a very different type of system. I'm glad you guys tried it, and thank you guys for.
I have one quick question before we end. In the episode where the bar mess happened and Zach stayed out, if Zach went with them, that was shortly after he got revealed to be Caitiff, would he have just got straight up killed?
Went with who? Refreshing any more details
with
here.
Ava and Dakota to meet Clyde.
The Clyde situation.
We breached the Masquerade like 5 times.
Yeah.
If Zach had went with them and then
would Zach have been killed for being Caitiff?
You would have been dead.
Yeah.
I think I made that clear.
That's the reason that I was like, I'm not going because you might screw up.
No, there was that moment where she was like, "You're damn lucky you weren't with them because you would just be dead now."
You would be dead.
Oh boy.
Yep.
There would have been many a time where I think at least Ava, maybe not. The other 3, yes, have been so close to just being killed off.
Really?
That makes no fun for a story. How many times did you guys make a mess of things for the first like 2 years? Every time, I think, would be the answer.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything we had done, we
2 or 3.
like, messed up.
I constantly said that too. Is like everybody thinks we're dead every episode.
I have to also say, you guys got wrapped up in that book business. Dakota didn't want shit to do with that. I tried to
book.
super hands off and all of that shit with Vanessa and trading books and like, one, you guys didn't want me involved, and 2, Dakota was like, this is way above my pay grade, dude. No. Mm-mm.
But
that was not my mistake.
thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
So,
This is so
everyone,
great.
if you want us to do a season 2, tell us. That was great. Also, support the show with just like telling people about the show, like tweeting and stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to tweet it, like Medithius, Onyx Path, World of Darkness, Paradox, because they now are like controlling the IP. Hell, even
Let 'em
like Bloodlines
know.
too, because the game's coming out next year.
Ah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you want to like just tweet them, be like, you should support these people, sponsor them, or just advertise them, whatever. That would be great. It's always appreciated. So thank you very
Wow.
much.
And for all the
Throw it in your
questions
hands.
saying, why did Sybil want the book? I never found the answer to that
Oh,
question.
no, I know the answer. It's on my board. It's why I predicted it. Sybil wants the book because then she doesn't get the call to the east despite being a Methuselah because she's no longer blood bonded to the one above her, so they can't be called. There you go, everyone. That's why Sybil wanted the book. And that's
It's
why
a
Zach
theory.
predicted it in the first place.
Certainly a theory, for sure.
I have 100% success right
Pretty good
now.
one.
I'm not breaking
I mean,
it.
it's not a bad theory. It's not a bad-
Pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty good theory.
I have 100% success rate. Not one has been wrong. Anyway, I'm going to go wear my tinfoil hat, and thank you very much for watching this after show.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.